Welcome to the session of the Hybrid Lab project in this afternoon, which is co-financed under the Erasmus Plus program of the European Union. And we are having today first parallel session. With us, the parallel session diversity and behavior, with us there are two scientists and two artists. And I'm welcoming Anna Olsson and Luisa Mesquita Pereira on this presentation of scientific look on the topic. Luisa is working in Porto and is a human genetics professional who is investigating the area of human diversity and genetics. And Anna Olsson has a background in animal science and holds a PhD in ethology, and it's coming from the Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences.
Okay, thank you. I'm actually going to throw you into a different scientific topic, although it is not at all unrelated to what Luisa has been speaking about. I have been asked to talk to you about what ethology is. And I'm going to start by giving you a clear, some of you are sure know what it is. Some of you perhaps think this is a scientific concept which doesn't really have any meaning right now. And I'll give you a hint just to start with. As human beings, we intuitively use behavior to make interferences about animals. Modern human beings living in urban areas do not interact a lot with wild animals, but some of us keep companion animals, and we definitely use behavior as a way of trying to figure out what's going on with our animals. So if I come downstairs early in the morning and I find a cat like this just inside the cat flap, I might get slightly worried that something is wrong with her, that she just sort of flopped down just after getting inside the house. But if 5 minutes later I see her like this, I will be pretty assured that she's not ill and that she's probably expecting or hoping that I would provide her with some more interesting food than what is available in her food bowl. So that shows just how a bit of the way that we intuitively use behavior if we live close to animals. This is not because we are behavioral scientists, but it's because we are animals ourselves, we are mammals, and we have a history of co-evolution with animals that has allowed us to reach the prosperity we have as a species, and have had the success that we've had as a species that Luisa showed on the map of the migration across basically all continents. And it's because we have been able to live with animals and to learn from animals and make predictions about animals' behaviors from what we observe that we have managed to do this. The photo on the left, these are rock carvings from Foscoa in the north of Portugal. They are somewhere between 20,000 and 10,000 years old. So if you remember Luisa's map, where humans migrated into the Iberian Peninsula, these are roughly from about, they may be as old as from this part. It's difficult to see, but if you study in detail, you see that you can see the movement of a four-legged animals, probably a bovine, so a cattle type animal, on these rock carvings. To the right, you show a much more a contemporary, but still also historic example of humans working with other animals, using their behavior and our understanding of their behavior. You see a goat herd, and a goat herd from the north of Portugal, herding the herd of goats and working with with dogs in doing that in an area of Portugal where presently there are wolves. So it's important that you as a human are able to work together with the dogs in order to protect your livestock from being attacked by the wolves. So this is human behavior, animal behavior in the context of human evolution and human biology. Ethology is a specific way of studying animal behavior. Ethology is the study of animal behavior within the larger area of biology. So ethology means studying behavior using objective methods, and you can put quotation marks for objective because of course there is subjectivity in the choice of methods. But the point here is that ethology works with observing behavior. So it works on what you as a human can see or in other ways measure, not necessarily see, because animals are sometimes active in the night where we can't see with our normal human eyes. We need technology to help us. And observations is obviously not all. There is also sounds. And again, here we may need technology because some of the things that we want to measure are not, some of the sounds we want to measure are not emitted in the frequency range that we can hear. So again, we need technology to help us. That it's a part of biology also means that behavior is considered in the context of the ethology as an adaptive trait that adapts, that evolution acts upon, quote unquote, and I'll explain that in more detail a couple of slides later. And also, to be absolutely transparent, I am not a wildlife ethologist. I'm an applied ethologist. Applied ethology is ethology applied to domestic animals or animals in captivity or animals that are otherwise under human influence. So that's where I'm at home, and that's what where my examples will come from. I also hope that I can show you that applied ethology is no less exciting, and domestic animals are no less exciting and interesting than wild animals. And I have to make an operation here because I just wanted to show you a short video clip, and I think I need to stop sharing my screen to change to a different screen in order to be able to do that. And now I need to find the screen. Hold on a second. So what you will be seeing here is a short sequence from a film which is called A Laboratory Rat, A Natural History. And the story of this video, which is about 10, 12 years old, is that a team of researchers led by Manuel Bordoy from Oxford University, they released about a dozen lab rats that had never seen life outside a laboratory cage. And a cage for a lab rat is a little bigger than a shoebox, but it is not. It's not a big space. It's a space where the animals can move very little. And they left these animals in a fenced-in area, which was an abandoned farm. And then they filmed them and collected data on them for 6 months. So I wish we had time to watch the entire video. It's about half an hour. It's wonderful. We don't have that time. But what this shows us is that these rats that have no experience of a challenging life of any kind, had no experience of moving about, they've lived their life in a place in which they could hardly walk their full length to one end of the cage and turn around. They could not actually stand up in a bipedal position. They all quickly adapted to living in a place they would have to find food themselves. And they after a few weeks or perhaps a month, they had already created this network here of rat runs in their habitat. So basically they've taken control over their new habitat roughly the way that wild rats would do. So they still that capacity is still within their own control. Is still within them despite not being in their active previous experience. So coming back to the question of behavior and evolution and natural selection. Natural selection operates on populations of animals. This is basic evolutionary biology. And those whose traits are more adapted to the environment will have the greatest fitness. Fitness is a biologist term. And the greatest fitness means having most offspring that survive to reproductive age. So this is how these individuals, their genes will be favored in the next generation. There will be more individuals carrying these genes in the next generation. Selection for the genes that underlie these adaptive traits, they will lead to increasing frequency in later generations. This is basically very much related to what Louisa is studying. And the point I want to make here is when we think about traits, we may think about things like coat color or skin color in the case of humans. So someone who lives very much to the extremes of the poles would have light skins. Someone who lives closer to the equator will have darker skins. That is what is most adaptive for the different conditions. Behavior is in fact a trait in this sense, in the same way as physical traits are. So that's why that's the link, that is how these lab rats, despite not having any kind of experience of a natural environment, still have this capacity to show the same behaviors. How are we doing for time? How much time do I have left?
Yes, maybe 3-4 minutes, because we would like to have also the discussion.
Yeah, okay.
30 minutes on.
So I will move forward. What does ethologists study? What do ethologists study? What kind of questions do they ask? Nico Tinbergen is one of the founders of modern ethology, and he postulated 4 questions which still are very, very central to ethologists' work. And Tinbergen, who worked at the University of Oxford in the 1950s, posed these questions saying you can ask about a behavior, you can ask about a function. So you can ask, why is the animal performing behavior? In which way does the behavior increase the fitness? You can ask about evolution. How did the behavior evolve? How has natural selection modified the behavior over evolutionary time? You can ask about causation. What causes the behavior to be performed? Which stimuli elicit, or what physiological mechanisms cause the behavior? And you can ask about development or ontogeny. How has the behavior developed during the lifetime of the individual? And I think the last thing I'll show you is a video clip from another video that I again will show you the link to afterwards, and so that you can actually observe the entire video. This is just going to be a brief clip from it, and this is going to illustrate the two last questions that Tinbergen asks us to, or suggests that we ask about behavior. So what elicits the behavior, and how does the behavior change over ontogeny, over the development of the animal. And this video shows us newborn piglets and a study where researchers wanted to figure out what are the stimuli that lead that the piglet is looking for when he's looking for the teat for the first time, when he's to suckle for the first time. And what they figure out here is that he's looking for something that is warm and soft. So he's happy with searching for this black plastic bag or rubber bag which is filled of warm water. But now we've got a piglet who is a couple of hours old, so he has already reached his mother's udder and he's already suckled milk for the first time, and he's no longer happy with this dark this artificial rubber bag with warm water, because he has already learned that an udder is something that looks very specific and has the smell of milk and also gives him milk. So here you, in a video clip of 1 minute, you've got an answer to 2 of Tinbergen's questions in one pretty small experimental study. And just to finish this up, also because a scientist always wants to make some references to their own work, sometimes it's not this complex. Sometimes it's simply about observing the behavior. We have this potentially seemingly bizarre interest in my group in a problem which is mortality, early mortality in laboratory mouse breeding, which many people in the field think is because the females kill their pups. We think it's not. So we had to set up a scheme for catching the events where a pup die, and to be able to see if what is happening before the pup dies is something that the mother does to it, or if it's something else. So that is another approach, less romantic to ethology. And I'll stop here. Thank you very much.